Okay, I think we're live. My apologies, we are starting 40 minutes late. Is anyone surprised? It's too bad, really, because I would love for this to be a little more consistent, but it is what it is, I guess. So, I've got a few things pulled up, but I want to play for a little bit and see if anything strikes me before committing to anything. I just had this thought as I was putting this together that that some kind of a jungle type theme might be cool. So we're starting with the colors that we might expect to see. These are definitely too bright in here. Just too high value. So we're going to bring those down. We bring in that juicy green that we kind of think about. We think about jungles. However, I'm going to try to limit ourselves on. That's funny. Limit ourselves. We never really limit ourselves on these, but anyway, we're going to aim to limit the amount of this rich green, and we'll try to get the kind of that pop, that vibrating color with color contrast rather than with a rich saturated green. So instead of going, hey, I'm a jungle, I'm this bright color, we're going to say, well, how would we get that kind of an effect between, cool greens and warm greens that are a little more desaturated, right? So we go cool, we go warm. In fact, some of these, might not even end up being in the green kind of zone. Yeah, when you put them side by side, that's what we're aiming to accomplish here. I say we're aiming to accomplish that. Truth be told, we're just playing right now. But that is the thing that we're playing with. So this is something that, as far as an exercise, I would recommend just having a big idea. Like trying to get this, for example, trying to get a jungle feel with complementary colors that are a little less saturated. It's kind of a prompt or a challenge for yourself. And see what you can pull off with that prompt. I think that's a good exercise to limit yourself, give yourself a goal, see what you can do with certain tools and methods. Okay, so that's what we're playing with here. Whoa, my lights are tweaking out in the office here. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna adjust these. There we go. Got LEDs on a dimmer switch, which they work great most of the time. And then sometimes when other things are drawing juice, then they start flickering because the LEDs are timed light. But not that anyone needs to be told that, or certainly by someone who has no idea what he's talking about. I'm not a lightologist. I don't install lights. Hardly even look at them. Speaking of looking at lights, though, that is the new baby. That is his jam right now. He sees a light. It's like he's trying to figure that thing out. Okay. So let's bring in some value in here. I'm trying not to get too saturated with those, but let's see, do we want these to be a plane? So anything that's kind of facing that way. Might be a little early to be deciphering that, but sometimes a fun concept to play with. I'm going to bring this orange in underneath here and then see if we can fade that back into something that we could believe is green. And I'd like to introduce some more grays into this. See how far we can push that. It might be a little on the light side there. Let's see. Okay. I want to be careful not to make any promises here, but I'm thinking this is kind of the point where we start to make sense of some of the chaos. Start to bring in some consistency, or rather representational we'll call them hints for now. A hint of representational, rather than getting too embroiled in the battle of making things look real and believable and representing a, whatever it may be, a rock, a tree, or a animal in the jungle here. But we'll go in abstract, and then we're going to start bringing it in. here we're just throwing together some abstract shapes to give the illusion of some space. You know, some things are casting shadows on others. These shapes have converging points, you know, so they all kind of point in somewhere, or they have a flow to them, right? Like this has a curve to it. Pulls you up into that space up there. And as I talk about often, we're referencing different areas. We're associating colors with each other, shapes with each other. Right? So we associate these, like these little orange blots here, the yellow, right? These like really light, I'm reluctant to call that teal, but the really pale green there. And of course the darker colors here. So kind of can't help but associate them. However, we can design them poorly so that they don't work very well. So at this stage, like I've said, we haven't really designed anything. We just kind of started playing and we kind of saw what popped out to us. And so now we're thinking about these shapes, about these relationships, and how we can exploit them to lead the eye around the canvas. And I'm softening up this color right here. I was going with this darker value right here, but as I move up into that space, the contrast is getting too high, so I want to bring that down. And then we'll fade it in here. Probably a little early to be making that sort of decision, but whatever. It's my live stream. I do what I want. Maybe that'll be my new tagline. Besides, what was the other thing I ended up saying a lot? It was we'll get around to that. We'll fix that later. Something like that. That might be too much of a life mantra right there. Yeah, we'll fix it later. Oh yeah, we'll get around to that. As all of my house projects are running through my head right now. Let's see here. These shapes I want to bring in just a little bit irregular. You know, I'm thinking of this as a leaf. I think that's pretty obvious. Perhaps too obvious. But instead of bringing in this shadow as like a one-to-one of what that is, I want to kind of warp it a bit so that it implies that, you know, it's falling over this mass or this cluster of leaves and forms here. You know, so it wouldn't have this like perfect little shadow. It would fall across those forms and give you this irregular shape. And I think part of that is going to be, you know, coming in and out, color picking, bringing in some color, overlapping, you know, cutting through these different positive and negative shapes. Okay, we did a thing. All right, let's do an overlay layer. We'll start bringing in the lights and darks with this method. As you can see, we're below middle gray there, doing this yellow green. Maybe not ideal. As I always say, we can change that later, but we often don't. So we'll see where that goes. I'm going to bring that up a little bit here. But this is, there are a couple different methods to kind of modulate your colors and value. And a lot of them I haven't played with in a while. Like I've been painting pretty directly lately. Like just pick a color and throw it down. But in the spirit of playing with this and seeing where it goes, what we could do here, I'll do another overlay layer, and when I'm done with this overlay, if I don't make a adjustment layer, you've got to remind me in the chat. I know I'll probably forget, but gotta hold me to it. So I'll play with these light values for overlay, and then and then we'll come back in with that technique that I was alluding to. Okay. So the craziest thing happened today. The first time in my life this has ever happened. And I've been holding off talking about it because I'm still kind of in trouble for it. Here's what happened. I, as you may know if you've watched the live streams before, I grow shiitake mushrooms. They're a gourmet mushroom, and they're delicious. And they grow really well here. So I got a crop of these this last weekend, and they were great. I mean, they were tasty, and just these nice, large, plump mushrooms. I mean, shiitakes, normally you get them in the store. They might be a little smaller than your hand, but when you grow them, you get them fresh, and especially if they do well. Here, I have 3 different varieties, and one of them will come in just massive. I mean, if you let them go, they can get almost as big as a frisbee. You don't want to go that far because they, well, save the nuance, but basically the flavor is better if you get them, you step them earlier. Okay, anyway. So I get this crop of shiitake mushrooms, and I share some, I bring some home, we fry some up, and I've got a couple left on the counter. So they let off spores everywhere, so I throw a towel over them. And at some point today, the towel was missing, and the shiitakes were missing. So I asked my wife, "Hey, did you cook those up, or were they bad? Did you ever throw them out?" And she had no idea what I was talking about. And I guess the towel was wadded up enough that she thought I just left a towel on the counter, and it ended up in the laundry. So we had these shredded shiitakes all through the laundry load, and I'm still in trouble for this because apparently I should leave a note on things that that this is food. There's mushrooms in here, guys. So that load of laundry, all of it smells like mushrooms. Little bits, fiddly bits everywhere. So I'm picking through these, pulling them out one by one. Every single pair of clothes in there, every single piece. And I throw everything back in, run a rinse on it, intending to come back and do a full wash. Forgot. Then they go through again. So we can do it all over again. Anyway, first for me, running a load of laundry with shiitakes. So all my clothes smell like mushrooms. And I'm sure you can pick up some puns out of that. I'll save you the dad jokes. You can make your own. Oh, right. I was supposed to do that thing. Anthony in the chat, yeah. I appreciate that this is somehow your fault. Yes, both instances. The mushroom being left on the countertop and ending up in the laundry, and the rinse going through again. It is what it is, and I'm going to appreciate the fact that that I did leave it there and that it was convincing enough. I mean, apparently, if you pick it up and you can't tell that there's. I'm trying to word this carefully. I can't. I'm going to get myself in trouble. It must have been pretty light. That's all I'm saying. It must have been pretty light if it felt like there was nothing in there. I think mostly what got me in trouble, and this is just, for anyone who's not married, you need to know this. If you find something funny and your spouse doesn't, because I thought this was hilarious. I'm a little disappointed about the loss of the mushroom, but it was well worth the laughter in my mind. But if you think it's funny, just keep it to yourself. Pro tip. And by pro tip, I mean advice that I do not heed very well. Okay. That's right. I was going to do that thing with the adjustment layer. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to do a color balance, and we're just going to go. I mean, first we want to head in a direction that looks nice, but we're going to go really subtle. Okay. We're shifting our midtones. Maybe our darks more towards that blue. Whichever way you go with this, you kind of get either like a more of a different time of day, like a night feel, if you could shift those blues in there. If we pump up the reds and stuff, then we get a nice contrast, which is nice. But again, remember our goal here was to not use very much green, not super saturated green, and still get that kind of jungle-y feel. All right, so we've shifted things just a little bit. +4, +1, +1. -6, that might be a little bit far. Actually, we'll bring that in just a skosh. We'll do -4. Come on, you. There we go. And midtones, +1, -1, +4. Okay, so then what you do is you paint underneath this, and there's a couple ways you can do this. You could do, if we hit, I don't know what your hotkey is, -K for the Smudge Tool, and we go to Sample All Layers. Then we can play with these, and you can see if I drag this, as I drag it, you see how it's shifting the hue? That's because it's this color balance is affecting every single time that makes a stamp. This color balance has an effect on it, so it's going to slowly shift it stamp by stamp by stamp to whatever direction this color balance is carrying it. And we might even consider lowering the opacity on that. So I bring this down to like 40. I'll erase this here. We're checking the chat. My entire marriage is founded in laughing at things my wife doesn't find funny, namely myself. Yeah, that's I know that feeling. This is not a, there are no complaints here. I want to make that very clear. I think you can laugh at the irony of things sometimes. Tell you what, my kids, so I have 5 kids now, and you would think you'd get overwhelmed with them, but somebody once told me, someone who actually at the time had 5 kids, told me that you don't know how you'll have the capacity to love and care for, one more person. But then every time it's like somehow easier. It's like you have more love for all of them. And I think that's true. Because the point that I was, getting at here is that lately my kids are they're just hilarious to me. Like I feel like things that might have annoyed me before, and I'm not saying things are like, honky-dory and that there's nothing difficult about raising kids, but the fun and the spontaneity and the laughter and stuff, I mean, it's just, I don't know, we're at a good stage, if anything else. If nothing else, it's this is just a time in our lives where, like, I just find everything funnier. Kids are doing all these crazy things. My 3-year-old has this brainworm of mohawks, anything mohawk. And it doesn't always make sense. It's just like he throws it. He will somehow contextualize mohawks into anything. And I don't know. Can't get enough of it. I sometimes wonder about these things, right? Like thinking about the mushrooms, for example, the shiitake logs, and how my kids like are growing up with that, and that's something I never grew up with. I'm sure there are other people who have, but like just how normal that is to them, and how that's like a cool thing to do, or like a special treat. Like, oh, Dad took us down to the mushroom logs to see how they're doing. And I sometimes think that's like the weirdest thing ever. That would be normal. But I don't know. I think that's a good kind of normal. But looking at the chat here, a lot of my friends are completely against having kids. I wish I could adequately explain what they're missing. Yeah, well, obviously this is a sidebar from the painting, and I'm totally fine with that. I don't mind having the conversation go different places, but my thought on that, I completely agree. However, like if you really don't want kids, then you probably shouldn't be responsible for them. I do think your mind would probably change, once you see that little baby, and you start to experience things, I think your mind changes, your priorities change. And actually, I think that is, I would say, one of the most amazing things about parenting is how you change, I mean, not to sound like selfish about it or whatever, but like, I just think having like a little person, having this, and it's not like a, it's a little, like a little me or something like that. It's more like whatever your ideas were about how things were going to go as an adult, like just toss it, and then there's more in the equation now. It's a completely different thing going on. And I think that like losing control is a really good thing. Or I would say even the semblance of control. You never were in control, to begin with, of like where your life's headed and how it's going to go and all the things you think you want. Okay, this is headed towards a completely different kind of conversation here, but yeah, I think kids change that. I think kids ruffle up our stupid feathers, and we needed it, You know what this scene needs? Mushrooms. And as always, we'll get around to that. I'm still piddling around with this thing. See, let me zoom in here and see what's going. I'll show you what's going on here. So where this layer is in effect, you can see how it's just got these really subtle shifts in hue from the color balance above here. And so that is a little trick to get these free shifts in color. Of course, other blend modes and stuff could help with that, so that colors mix in ways that are perhaps less predictable, less what we intended, and then a little more. I don't want to say natural, because it really depends on the blend mode, but the fact that things don't come together exactly the way that you intended sometimes is precisely the thing that makes it interesting. It's like a metaphor for kids. It's like exactly what we were talking about. Yeah, mushroom logs. You know, it's funny, like that being said about the whole things not working out exactly as you thought. Looking at this, the thing that I think that I like the least are the areas where I tried to make things look like a believable leaf shape. You know, it's like it's trying too hard. You know. Trying too hard, he says, as he starts to proceed to try harder. That wasn't the moral of the story, Eric. What I meant was, stop. Stop it. All right. Mushrooms. What do we think here? Get a happy little log over here. Yeah, let's just break this up into smaller shapes there. I guess we can zoom in, I suppose. I'm trying to get the big picture here, but let's see what we can do. We got, maybe this is a log here that I kind of wanted to blend into this background a little bit, but maybe we should put a an edge on it on the top here that's not just purely dark like that. Okay, so mushrooms. Let's say we got a happy little guy coming out of here. Maybe another one. Coming out under here. I guess we'll do the cast shadow later, and we'll decide how we want to adorn these things. By no means am I trying to get these to represent the shiitakes that we talked about earlier. Do not, under any circumstances, attempt to identify a mushroom by one of my paintings, ever. Okay, disclaimer done. Making mushrooms. Okay, now we'll do the shadows underneath. So we'll call these the shrooms. And this is the shadows. Making non-legally binding representations of mushrooms. Yes. Yes. This is not a mushroom field guide. Gotta know that. Now I think we need to make these mushrooms like a different color than most of what else is going on here, so that they're end up being more of a focal or design element. And I think we can give them, let's see, what if we do like some foregroundies? That's the technical term. That's what the kids are calling them these days, foregroundies. Over here, you know, because everyone knows kids talk in technical terms. And we'll probably want to move these around so that we have more of a flow about the image. So I'm actually going to chop these out. You're coming with me. Okay, and then let's chop out these individual shapes. What am I doing? Give me the lasso. There we go. And then what's left? Okay. So I'm thinking like this, maybe not too on the nose, but kind of this cascade effect where they're kind of falling down, you know, almost like a little waterfall, a mushroom fall right here. And then we want to lead the eye back up and then into these ones right here. So how to do that without being super on the nose. All right, now we're going to block in the shadows again. Mushroom fall. It's almost like a name of a TV show, like something fall. There's always a something fall. Hammer fall. I don't know, winter, fall, actual fall, mushroom fall. Okay, so now that I've got those separated, I'm going to bring them back together so that I can just deal with them as one layer. And I think with these mushrooms, I'm going to be thinking like these curvilinear shapes. So if you make like a figure 8 kind of thing, right, then that's kind of the form that we're going to follow. So we'll go up like so. I'm just going to give these, here we go, something like that. And then on the underside, like so. That's assuming that we have like one homogeneous base color for it. But we're going to change that, in theory. We're going to change that later. Just add it to the list. Add it to the list of promises that Eric made. Uh-oh. What do I said? The baby, he's been sleeping pretty well. He's been doing well. But, you know, it's a couple hours at a time, you know, so it's in and out. Do we need more in our cascade? Our mushroom fall? Do we want to use this one? Hey, how would you feel about, you know, being a part of the composition? Joining the team. You mean I get to be in a real painting? Well, I didn't say a real painting, but you can be in this painting. All right. Let's see. This one might end up just being more of a loop. See how boring that is? Just a plain round mushroom. Maybe it does need a little bit of that. A little life to it, you know what I mean? Just to give it a reason to wake up in the morning, you know? I know, somebody somewhere is saying mushrooms don't wake up in the morning. Probably some mushroomologist is... You know what? If you're a mushroomologist, go ahead. Say whatever you want to say. I'll listen. But I'm not going to take your word for it. Mushrooms are... don't mess around with mushrooms. Alright, so now we're in the shadows. just a little bit of a shadow there. Here. Now, shadows are information, so you got to think about them a little bit. Do a little thinking. Do you think that's sufficient to draw our eye in here, or do we need, I don't want to be so heavy-handed about this that I've got to have, like follow the yellow brick road here, everybody. We might be able to do this in a subtle way, No. Not Eric. Eric's not subtle. Uh-oh. I'm not referring to myself in the first person. That's not good. That's a bad sign. But tell the truth. That's what you came for, isn't it? You came to see a man break. Let's see. Oh, okay, that's a... Oh boy, I'm on the mushroom layer. I did all that. Whoopsie-daisy. Well, I'm gonna have to do the right thing. You thought I was gonna say, fix it later. I don't remember exactly how this was all set up in here. That's a good sign. Something like that. Okay, so this is our... this is mushrooms 2. And we should probably clean up some of these shapes a little bit here. Oops, let's go with this darker value. And we'll just start to blend those. Blend those in. Maybe I'll do this with a mask. I'm tempted to go in with the eraser, but I don't want to be too clean. Too clean with the lasso, or too it gets pretty gritty with the eraser, so trying to walk that line between one option or the other. So I think masking gives us that nice middle ground. And we do want to keep some irregular shapes here. We don't want to have this be too predictable. I don't know if I want this to be the divot there, like that. Oh, that's a different layer. Okay. Okay. So, an arrow-shaped mushroom. Where's that? All right, what is that's back behind there? Actually, this layer, I don't know if that's doing much good. I'm just gonna break that up because I can. Break it up. Now we're going to move our, so we got our two mushroom layers here. I think we could group these. This will be the shroom group. And then a couple thoughts. We could add a adjustment layer to that, start playing with the colors with adjustment layers. We could also pin a layer to the group, and I was thinking maybe do like some soft blending to kind of have the value or the hue shift, you know, as it comes forward, comes towards us. Okay, so anyway, let's do that. All right, so we'll do a soft brush. Sure, soft elliptical. And this is just, we're just painting directly over. And this is what I was talking about up here. I think a smart way to do this would be to just, you know, have that come, just paint straight down through those. And then we can, let's see, invert, we go a little darker, and, you know, paint in a soft shadow there. So if we wanted the light, let's say, on this side to soften up. We just paint it through here. We'll invert that. So it really depends how we want to choose to lead the eye. Are we going to shift the hue? So we can move this more towards red as it comes out, and then as it works its way down towards the middle, then we end up maybe with some more oranges. Oh, oranges. That's what we should have done. Should have done oranges instead of mushrooms. Oranges are delicious. Alright, so let's see here. I'm sorry. I'll stop talking now. Okay, I've decided it's okay for me to speak again. After that egregious dad joke. I think there's a certain flow to mushrooms. That is, they kind of like trees grow towards the light. Mushrooms growing much faster, of course. We'll have this kind of like this pattern to it. At the whether it's light or whatever it is that they're trying to grow towards, it's they all kind of tend to bend the same way, right? So we could play with that a little bit. Where's our local mushroom expert? Who's going to tell me, nope, Eric, actually that's wrong. Mushrooms don't bend the same way. In fact, they prefer to bend away from each other. Okay, all right. I can just feel it. I know it's coming. So I'm just going to get out ahead of that one and say, no, I actually don't know anything about mushrooms. Okay, so I'm going to turn this layer off so you can see. Boop, boop, doop, doop. Now, obviously, we got rid of a lot of information that we had. Excuse me, as far as these lights and darks, hue shifts, that sort of thing. So We'll see maybe if we use like, I don't want to lean on overlay because it doesn't really maintain the main thing that we're going for here. But I was thinking that the either color dodge or color burn, and being as how dark this is, I think we're gonna have to go with dodge. This is gonna get us most in the ballpark of, you know, utilizing what's underneath it, but then also bringing in the colors that we added. We could just do color, or we could just do luminosity. Color dodge is nice. Sometimes I'll mix these a little bit. So like if I like color dodge but not a ton, maybe I'll bring it in, and then I'll duplicate the layer and go with maybe just like normal, and then just lower the opacity so we get a little bit of the effect. We could also do some blend if stuff, but I'm not going to do that because it always crashes the stream. See, okay, so some things here actually are interesting because it's a decision. Like I made the opposite decision. Like for example, here we've got that kind of loop going on. Same thing here, loop, and then in this one, I got rid of that. So I might bring it in. We'll just kind of go halfway over, paint on top of that. This one I would say is a tough call because I actually kind of liked what was going on there, but we'll see. See how this looks. I appreciate the quotations there in the chat around subtle. Eric's trying to be subtle again. Stay in your lane, Eric. Stay in your lane. Subtle is not your game. It's almost like I don't like what I did. Almost as if. Alright, one thing I'm going to do here is add in an overlay here. And we'll just do this just behind these mushrooms that are lit. so that it appears, fingers crossed, to be a consistent light. You know, it's both lighting the mushroom and the log or whatever this is around it. I'm just going to start softening up this background a bit. All right, let's pick a gray. Got this kind of purple gray. I'm gonna maybe shift it more towards blue. And I'm gonna go to the smudge brush and I'm just gonna bring this in. I'm gonna go behind the mushrooms here and just bring this in here. And the big idea will be to try to push everything back here. We may just set this to lighter color. That way if we encounter something brighter than it, it's not gonna overpower it. I like how this kind of gets lost back there. I'm going to grab this color right here. And start to bring some of that in. Maybe we'll bring it up here. Smooth some of those out. Yeah, I can't tell if that made everything worse. We can take a poll on that. Better or worse? Look at the eye doctor. Alright, we'll switch that color back over. And blend that back in. Now we've turned our metaphoric mushroom fall into an actual waterfall of some sort. Let's see, I'll switch that color. I'm going to go a little bit brighter. See if we can just raise that up in here. Okay, so on these mushrooms, a couple things we could do. Of course, we could do the, what do you call that? Adjustment layer, or we can do let's actually just find an interesting brush for this. This leaf brush might work. So I want to bring this value up on the underside of these. And I want to show that as like a, let's see, go screen. What would we just do? Maybe less on the fill. So if that comes up into this brighter area, let's try a different blend mode here. I think screen is what I like the most. Now this would be something where using blend if would be spectacular, and this is not the brush I want. I want something more. Hey, maybe we use these eyeballs. I want something that's got an interesting broken up pattern to it, but somewhat predictable. You know, like an eyeball or something. This man's lost his mind. We might have to move this lower, utilize this the layer stack that the layers that we dropped in before. Let's see, we got to get back to that kind of curvature thing. Right, so we're not too linear with these. Okay, go back in here. I feel like these are going to get me in trouble because I'm so tempted to do the blend if function on the layer stack or on the layer itself that it's almost irresistible. Our chances of crashing here are, you know, it's all the pressure in my head to do it or not to do it. And I know it's a mistake. I know it's going to be a problem, but I'm like, that's the way I would do it if I weren't streaming right now. So the main reason for that is that, especially when you're dealing with white, like light colors, in the shadow, it's important the way that light bounces and the turning of the edge and all that stuff. It sounds like I'm I don't know. Without actually being able to do it, I mean, we would have to just paint it in, I think. But it's so much easier when you can go. You go to blend if, you double click that, and then. Actually, that might be better. And then you can be selective about where, how much it blends in different areas. So, you know, a little less in the dark, a little more in the light. But let's see if we just move it. This might be the way we have to do it. Let's see if we can get a happier blend mode for us. I don't know. I think that's what we've got to work with. Guess we'll just have to paint it. All right, so let's go to the standard square. I guess it's W head flat is what it's called, but nice square brush here. That's a good idea, Anthony. Wash them in my laundry. That's touche, sir. So I'm going to do just a little bit of a bounce light here on the rim. And then maybe we'll come back in with a darker color for the inside. I think that's probably all we need. All right, so let's do our darker color. I guess we'll do this on the same layer. You get that little contact shadow there. So closer it is to the log beneath it, that's where we're going to do most of it, and then we'll kind of catch that edge here as well. One thing we could check for here is the way that we're handling shadows, whether it's a soft diffuse shadow or a hard cast shadow. These looks like just to clarify what I'm saying there, I'm thinking a step ahead to what we want to do next, not necessarily what we're doing now. Though here I do want these to be more in that blue range as they go into the background. All right, let's zoom out here, see what we've got. It almost looks like it's supposed to be a bird there. I don't know what you're supposed to be, but Alright, I think we should darken these ones up here because they look like they would be in shadow. And then maybe also lift that up a little bit there. I'll grab that. That blue white that we were working with back there. Okay, heading back to the chat here. Anthony says, I have a gnat crawling on my monitor under composition, and it really adds to the realism. Where should we add it? What did the gnat like? It's a good question. No, it's not. It's a terrible question. And then we also got Critkey. Sorry if I'm totally butchering that name. Hello. Hey. Welcome to the live stream. So this has been a bit of a weird one. But we've been just playing with this idea of doing what we started with, like a jungle type theme that we were trying to assemble without bringing in too many powerful greens. And to illustrate that, if let's say this is our jungle green here, we're not really using that color at all. Though it does look nice. Alright, so now this is our adjustment layer. And by adjustment I mean layer with which we are painting direct adjustments. And I'm going to soften these lights out here. These shadows underneath these mushrooms here are they're not in that hard light where they would cast a shadow, like a hard shadow. So we want to blend them softly. So like this here, supposing that's casting a shadow, that would be, cast down like this. Maybe we throw some more foliage down in there. But this right here, because we've got it appears to be kind of in shadow from these things up above, we would handle that with a soft diffuse light. So we're going to be feathering that in here. So it's going to be hard right at the base of that mushroom, and then we feather it out. So that's what I'm looking to do on these here. So they're not particularly hard cast shadows. And then here, actually, what I wanted to do was have a form kind of come in front here, block that mushroom right there. So it's casting a shadow, and then so we can do that kind of soft outside, and then we do this hard edge here, and that should show. Should show the form there. All right, let's see here. Darken these up a bit. Actually, let me just zoom in on that so we can handle this. Deal with them. Deal harshly with these mushrooms in the background here. So this would be a hard shadow. As you can see, the light is hitting hitting these forms here, so we want to show the cast shadow. And the soft shadow would come in around the form. I think I was trying to show a like a little broken off limb here or something, and that mushroom is coming out underneath. That's why we have that cast shadow there. And then we'll do a similar thing here. We'll have this mushroom passing underneath this other one. Try to give these more interesting shapes to them so they don't just you know, they're not just flat discs. Yeah, I'm not sure how necessary, you know, putting in the stems and stuff is, but basically it's not necessary. Let's see, what do we got here? Maybe extend that up. I think maybe something darker right in here. Just looking at the whole composition. Let's zoom out here. Maybe just. Maybe not quite that dark. And then this guy right here, I'm going to darken that up. So when I zoom out and look at that, it draws the eye in. I mean, I think it's important to draw from here to here. I think we need that. So I don't want to push it back too far. But I'm going to understate it just a little bit so that it's not drawing all the attention. It's not about you, mushroom. There's more going on here. It maybe needs some helpers here. Help it climb back up. All right. I'm just going to take some of these colors here and I'm going to homogenize this a little bit here. I want it to be kind of a smoother, cleaner transition here. I see. That's doing a lot. And I think I want to bring in that kind of water value in here. I think I'll darken this up a bit. Feathered in. That might be a little bit too on the nose there. Let's see. What do we want? What do we want? Let's do a new layer here. I'm just going to feather something in here. All of this is a balancing act, right? The more you mess with something, the more you have to correct elsewhere. But we're going to... Whoops. Oh boy. Oculus decided to turn on. Must have bumped something. like that might be a bit much, but the problem I was having there is that it's just too the scale was just too much of a problem. I suppose this would be an opportunity to use the foliage brush. Particularly the palm leaf. But, you know, I like how abstract these are coming out. Kind of tempted to just go, you know, sample all layers, do the smudge. Hum. go with a, let's see, back behind these mushrooms here. Just darken this up a bit. If it'll let me. Because I know I've done, oh, I see. I'll go with darker color. Yeah, I guess we need to move this above. I'm going to smudge this just to smooth it out. And I might colorize it a bit. I want it to be a little more blue. Let's adjust that again. All right. All right, I think that's probably a good stopping point. I should turn off my Oculus here. Crying out loud. All right, let me zoom in. Get basically the whole image there. I'm cropping a little bit on the top and bottom. Turn this device off. And I suppose we could add a adjustment layer to get to bring some of our values in before we call it. So let's go to curves. Yep, we're very much in that dark zone, which is pretty much what I was aiming for. We'll keep a little bit of that. Maybe something like that. I don't want to lose control of our values as we're doing this. And I might mask off these corners, edges and stuff. do a color balance. All right. Not so subtle, but that's how we do it. All right. I think this is probably a good place to stop. Yeah. Yeah, before I entertain any other crazy ideas, we'll just say, let's stop here. All right, so thanks for joining in tonight. It is midnight Eastern Time. That puts us at about 2 hours, 20 minutes, I think. And I'm fairly pleased with this. I think it, for starting with just a random ask prompt as far as trying to get that jungle feel with less saturated greens, and then the mushroom story. I think it was fun. All right, so that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining in, and have a good night. Good night.